Sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
From the vast PFRA pastures of Saskatchewan to the desert and cactus of Arizona, the enchanted rangelands of New Mexico, the community pastures of the Peace River country, the big ranges of West Texas, those foggy flatlands of southern Idaho, the Bears Paw Mountains of Montana, Alberta's cattle country, and the challenging terrain where BC rough country cowboys ride and rope. I'm glad we live in the West. For the next hour, we're going to ride the ridges, comb the draws, check the cows, start the colts, pack the salt, patch the fences, pick the guitars, and share the stories. With more than 19 singles to hit the top 10 since 1975, over 21 best-selling albums, winner of New Mexico Governor's Award as the best-selling cowboy singer in the world, Michael Martin Murphy has a pretty impressive resume. But more than an entertainer, Murph is a rancher and a dedicated horseman. And like me, he's got his priorities.
I have a rule that if I haven't spent as many days in the saddle as I do playing music and gone, then I haven't lived that year.
One of the most common complaints folks have about their horses gets a going over on the horse training file. Here is the voice of the Sons of the San Joaquin's Jack Hanna.
Backward, turn backward, time on its wheels. No more airplanes or big ships or automobiles. Dress me again in a big old sombrero with chaps. Give me an old-time slick fork saddle, basket stamped with full taps. And out where the sagebrush is dusty and gray, Lord, let me be a cowboy again for one day.
There's a great American hero that we all look up to. And when times are hard and chips are down, he knows just what to do. A cowboy's got a set of rules that he lives by day to day. And if you ask for his advice, he'll more than likely say, if it's a fence, mend it. If it's a dollar bill, spend it before it burns a hole down in your jeans. If it's a load, truck it. If it's a punch, duck it. If she's a lady, treat her like a queen. That's cowboy logic, and every cowboy's got it. It's in the way he lives his life, the songs he sings. That's cowboy logic, every cowboy's got it. He's got a simple solution for just about anything. If it's a job, do it. Partner, put your back into it. 'Cause a little bit of dirt's gonna wash off in the rain. If it's a horse, ride it. If it hurts, hide it. Dust yourself off, son, get back on again. That's cowboy logic, every cowboy's got it. It's in the way he lives his life, the songs he sings. That's cowboy logic, every cowboy's got it. He's got a simple solution for just about anything. Now an old cowboy and a young buckaroo were out working. They was riding the fence. So the old man thought he'd test the kid on his working skills and common sense. He said, son, if you've seen three men riding in the front of a pickup dressed alike from boot to hat, Could you tell which one was the real cowboy just from where they sat? Now this kid, he scratched his head a while and said, heck, there ain't no way to know. The old man said, son, on this outfit, you got a long, long way to go. You see, the real cowboy, son, is the one in the middle, and he ain't just there by fate. Because first of all, son, if he's sitting in the middle, you know he's the real cowboy, because you don't have to drive. And then, well, also he has total control over the radio and the cassette player. Third, if he sits in the middle long enough, he could become the governor of Arkansas. You know where that could lead. But that ain't the real reason the cowboy sits in the middle, son. He ain't just there by fate. The real reason that cowboy sits in the middle is he don't want to have to get out and open no gates. That's cowboy life. Every cowboy's got it. It's in the way he lives his life. It's in the songs he sings. That's cowboy life. Every cowboy's got it. He's got a simple solution for just about anything.
Well, that was recorded live on stage with the San Antonio Symphony Orchestra. Found its way into the great CD called Sagebrush Symphonies with Michael Martin Murphey. Now, Taos, New Mexico is home to Murph. And Mike, for folks who might not know, I'm just wondering, what can you tell us about the country around Taos?
Well, no Canadian will believe me who hasn't been down there. They will not believe this, and I'm going to tell you here, but you're still not going to believe me. We have almost identically the same climate as you do. It gets to 20 and 30 below. We're at 7,000 feet, and the mountains that range around there are up to 14,000 feet, which makes them higher than the Canadian Rockies. We have 400 inches of snow a year. We fight the frozen weather just like you do. We have a very short growing season. We actually only have 3 seasons in Taos: summer, winter, and mud. That's what we call the other seasons. We do occasionally have dry. We have, once in a while, in an El Nino year or something, we'll have strange weather where we may get a drought or we may get rained on a whole lot. But we are basically the same kind of terrain. We are a foothills, sagebrush plain right at the foot of a mountain fastness, you might say, and all of our water comes down from the snowfall that we catch in big catchment ponds. We have irrigation that goes back to the Spanish people that's 400 years old there. So every little home in our valley has irrigation that comes down from the mountain. So we really depend the same way you do on the runoff from the snow. The only difference is we don't have the wheat farming and stuff that you have here in Alberta, in New Mexico. We do have it just east of us over in Kansas and over in Colorado. There's some wheat farming, and just north of us in Alamosa and around that area. But it's a very, very similar climate where we have mountain cowboys, and we pretty much have to do things the same way you have to do them here.
Michael Martin Murphey talks about his horses and sings a beautiful song that was written by R.W. Hampton. And our other Michael, Dr. Michael Johnson, the calf roping psychologist, talks about one of creation's finest masterpieces, Southern Ranch Women, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Here's what's happening on the 2026 Spirit of the West cruise. Now, this will be on a cruise line we have never been on before, to a destination we have never been to before, with a list of places rich in history and culture. This is a bucket list voyage that'll see a 14-day cruise aboard Oceana Cruises' beautiful ship, Vista. All the cabins have balconies, drinks, gratuity, Wi-Fi, all included, specialty dining restaurants, all at no extra surcharge. 20 days away from shores, February 16th to March the 7th, 2026, and an optional 4-day pre-cruise extension at Machu Picchu in Peru. The Vista sets sail on February 21st from Lima, Peru. And here's the real important part. The supply of available cabins on this one is really filling fast, but we still have some available and might be able to get you aboard. For all the information on this one and on our fast-approaching Circle the Caribbean cruise aboard the Majestic Princess sailing on February 3rd, 2025, the number again is 1-800-530-0131.
Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Michael Martin Murphey is visiting this week, sharing songs and some behind-the-scenes stuff. And in this segment, the very well-received new series, From the Barn Porch with calf roping psychologist Dr. Michael Johnson, looks at Southern ranch women. Thunderbolt is the name of the horse that Michael Martin Murphey uses in a spectacular way in some of his live performances, and he's quite a horse.
He's great. He's had very few health problems, and he's absolutely bulletproof out there. I mean, he just puts up with the most incredible amount of distractions and kids throwing paper airplanes into the arena, everything else, and he never has bucked me off. He has gone.
Especially during the show.
He has gone. The last show I did at the National Western Stock Show, he did run for the tunnel because his girlfriend was over there in the tunnel and he saw her, and so he ran for the tunnel, but he didn't buck. And but once I got him through the tunnel, I gave him a pop on the rear end, and he went straight back out there and did the most beautiful sliding stop you've ever seen in front of the audience. So they thought it was part of the show.
Were you holding your guitar while this is going on?
No, I do not. I don't play my guitar when I ride the horse. I have a remote microphone, and I ride around and sing, but the band is on a stage live, and I don't try to do guitar. I have done on a couple of occasions a couple of commercials where I had my guitar in my hand, and I had a Velcro deal on the reins where I could have it around my wrist and I could still control the horse, but I could play the guitar. But if I got too fancy, you see, with my guitar, then those reins would brush his neck and he would think he's supposed to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But my horses are very heavily trained on the leg cue side of life.
Yeah.
I don't really depend that much on the reins, and you know, in any great reining horse, you shouldn't.
Right.
You don't ever jerk a horse around. It's just actually, the reins are there for a little bit of advance notice that you're about to tell him to do something, and sometimes they just start into the move with just a little brush of the rein on the neck, which is why they call them reining horses. But without letting them know those spurs are there, it doesn't take long for a horse to figure out that you don't have control. And that's exactly what happened at the National Western. For the first time in 10 years, I got overconfident. And my trainer said, you know what, why don't you just ride without spurs? Because your spurs are always getting hung up in the cords on stage, because I'll dismount, go up and sing a song or two, and then go back on the horse. My spurs are always getting hung up there. So she said, well, why don't you just ride without the spurs tonight? He's so soft, you're not going to have a problem with it. Just a little dig of the heel will be fine. Not true. I got out there, and as soon as Thunderbolt realized I didn't have spurs on, he took off for that tunnel. So I put my spurs back on for the next group of songs later, and he was fine.
Well, it's time for Murph to sing again. And here he is with one of the finest songs that's ever been written by the great songwriter R.W. Hampton.
The painted walls of Paladura, how my heart can see them yet. As a boy of 18 summers, long before I knew regret, there I rode the bold unwilling, and my loop was keen and true, and even in the dead of winter, skies were always blue. In the heat of summer Brandon, we'd get an early start. We'd jingle in the horses and we'd saddle in the dark. Then we'd ride out on the morning without a spoken word. The ring of spur and the fall was all that could be heard. And it's been saddle, horse, and catch twine. That has been my life. Some say it's been my downfall, that the world has passed me by. But the life I've lived I freely chose. I'm at it yet tonight. I was born to be a cowboy, and I will be till I die. On Darcy Taylor at the Cowboys' Christmas ball, the daughter of a preacher and the fairest of them all. I knew I could never have her, but I loved her just the same. And I still get that old-time feeling when I hear her name. And it's been saddle, horse, and catch twine. That has been my life. Some say it's been my downfall, that the world has passed me by. But the life I've lived I freely chose. I'm at it yet tonight. I was born to be a cowboy, and I will be till I die. Photographs and trophy buckles, things you hold with pride. When eyes grow dim, don't mean as much as what you've got inside. But I've got lots of memories, to me worth more than gold. And I can say I'm ready, Lord, when it comes my time to go. And it's been saddle, horse, and catch twine. That has been my life. Some say it's been my downfall, that the world has passed me by. But the life I've lived I freely chose. I'm at it yet tonight. I was born to be a cowboy, and I will be till I die. I was born to be a cowboy, and I will be till I die.
Michael Martin Murphy, our guest on the Spirit of the West this week. And Michael, after hearing all about Thunderbolt in the arena, folks might be wondering if he ever gets ridden out on the range, out there on the rocks and with the cattle.
My philosophy is a horse belongs out doing things. I have used Thunderbolt on cow work. I've used Thunderbolt on trail rides, real rough trail rides up in the Rockies that I lead. I ride him around for pleasure, just for fun, out on the desert, just to have a nice moment at sundown. I'll mount up and ride out at sunset. That's my way of meditating. And or as the cowboy once said, he said, have you ever meditated? And the cowboy said, no, but I've thought about it a lot. That's me. I kind of get out and think about meditating out there on horseback. I really am still in a way very much like I was with a kid. Getting on horseback is a separate feeling for me that I don't have to connect with cow work or anything else. Just to be on in the saddle, for me at 53 years old nearly, is still the same feeling I had when I was 7 or 8 years old. Just the thrill is still with me.
Staring at the south end of northbound cattle, slaving in the saddle all day. You got to be some kind of natural born fool to want to live your life this way. Well, it can't be the cooking, it sure ain't the money. The devil made the horse that I ride. The days are too long and the nights are too short, and the boss ain't never satisfied. So what am I doing here, Lord? What am I doing here? There's got to be something better out there. So what am I doing here? Sometimes I wonder, in the lightning and the thunder, if a cowboy's even got a prayer. And why'd you have to make it so hard down here when things are so much better up there? Now the Lord called his angels all around the throne, said, boys, I must be wasting my time, 'cause I thought I gave the cowboy a pretty good life. He's complaining till the day he dies. So what am I doing here, boys? What am I doing here? There's got to be something better out there. So what am I doing here? There's got to be something better out there. So what am I doing here?
More great music and more stories of the West when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. You know, there are a lot of folks who sing country music, or more to the point, Western music, who probably don't ride much, or may have never roped a calf, or started a colt, or sorted cattle from the back of a horse. But you know, there are a lot of them that are pretty good hands, and Michael Martin Murphy is sure one of them.
Getting on horseback is a separate feeling for me that I don't have to connect with cow work or anything else. Just to be on in the saddle, for me at 53 years old nearly, is still the same feeling I had when I was 7 or 8 years old. Just the thrill is still with me.
Staring at the south end of northbound cattle, slaving in the saddle all day. You got to be some kind of natural born fool to want to live your life this way. Well, it can't be the cooking, it sure ain't the money. The devil made the horse that I ride. The days are too long and the nights are too short, and the boss ain't never satisfied. So what am I doing here, Lord? What am I doing here? There's got to be something better out there. So what am I doing here? Sometimes I wonder, in the lightning and the thunder, if a cowboy's even got a prayer. And why'd you have to make it they're so much better up there. Now the Lord called his angels all around the throne, said, boys, I must be wasting my time, 'cause I thought I gave the cowboy a pretty good life. He's complaining till the day he dies. So what am I doing here, boys? What am I doing here? There's got to be something better out there. So what am I doing here? There's got to be something better out there. So what am I doing here?
If you're buying or selling farm machinery, heavy equipment, or trucks, let Progressive Auctions take the hassle out of your sale or your search. There's an online auction every Wednesday at progressiveauctions.ca. Doesn't matter where you live, Progressive Auctions can find the machinery or equipment you need or the buyers who are looking for what you're selling. progressiveauctions.ca. For more information, call 844-309-9424.
The Rangeland News from the Spirit of the West. A roundup of issues and events from the world of agriculture.
At the top of page 1, it says, wandering through the grocery store, pushing the cart while Billy compares prices on everything we need is not my favorite thing to do. And it seems the ongoing rise in prices of everything makes it kind of discouraging. So Gary Crawford has a question.
But what's the outlook for 2025?
Prices for food at home are predicted to increase by 0.8%.
Not even 1%, just 0.8%. This from Agriculture Department economist Megan Schweitzer.
For most categories in 2025, we're predicting price growth to be pretty similar to 2024 and below long-term averages for most categories.
She says that 0.8% forecast is just the middle of a wide range of forecasts, which include the rare possibility of food prices dropping below year-earlier levels.
It's not very common for grocery prices to decline, but we did have a few years in 2016 and 2017 where prices declined.
Again, though, a very rare happening. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Speckled Park cattle are making their way around the world thanks to Australian interest in this Canadian-developed breed. It's taken 8 years to build a new market, but following recent genetic sales to ranchers in Brazil, Dale Humphreys of Wattle Grove Speckled Park in Oberon, New South Wales, is pretty excited for the future of the breed. We're trying to develop an animal that's got slicker coat and more frame and leg to suit that Queensland cattle market. Obviously, the climate and the weather in Brazil is fairly similar to parts of Queensland. And together with Pedro Di Martini, they have created Speckled Park Brazil as a way for Brazilian ranchers to purchase genetic material to build their own herds. It's been a slow process, but as of October 2024, Humphrey says they have sent 800 purebred embryos and approximately 20,000 semen doses to Brazil from both Canada and Australia. And he said they have forward orders for 1 million semen straws per year, which will take between 6 and 9 years to supply the market. The breed itself was developed in Saskatchewan and was first recognized as its own distinct breed on July 6, 2006. According to the Canadian Speckled Park Association, the herd is well known for their high-quality carcass, efficient feed conversion, and their meat quality, but with a distinct blending of black and white hair, it's their coloring that gets them noticed most. China will launch an investigation into beef imports. The Commerce, as the world's biggest meat importer and consumer, grapples with an oversupplied market that sent domestic prices to multi-year lows. Any trade measures to try and reduce beef imports would hit China's biggest supplier, Brazil's, Argentina, and Australia. China's total beef imports reached $14.2 billion in 2023, surging from $8.2 billion in 2019. and Brazil has accounted for 42% of the total trade value. The name of the event is Ranching Opportunities. That conference takes place on February the 5th, 2025 at Olds College, and for information on it, just see cowsandfish.org. There's a bred cow and heifer sale and a regular cattle sale January 29th at the Kamloops yards of the BC Livestock Co-op, and then February the 11th, a regular cattle sale, and February 25th, another regular sale, and on February 27th, it's the Williams Lake regular sale. Meanwhile, at the Innisfail Auction Market, there is a pre-sort feeder sale on Monday, January 20th. Regular cattle sales underway every Wednesday, and you can get all the information at InnisfailAuctionMarket.com or give Danny, Mark, or Dwayne a call at 1-800-710-3166. And I should mention, back to the BC Livestock Co-op, you can get all the information there, and you can watch the sales live at bclivestock.bc.ca. And we are happy to say that I'll be on the road with the Western Spirit Band, several places in Alberta, BC, maybe even Saskatchewan over the summer, so stay tuned to find out when and where we're going to be appearing. And now, the final item. I mentioned a number of warnings issued with the instructions on a myriad of products that we buy today and how ridiculous they were getting. Well, this week I got a new serpentine belt for my old pickup. And there in the instructions was another message. Warning, do not attempt to install this belt with the engine running. Well, our grandson got a Superman costume for Halloween last year, and sure enough, there was a label that said, warning, wearing this costume does not enable the wearer to fly. Oh, really? What I wonder is how come us cowboys have been left out? I mean, I bought a brand new rope a while back, and there was nothing in the package that said anything like, warning, roping rank bulls on steep side hills can cause distress to your horse and injuries to you. And I got a nice set of leather hobbles. How come they didn't come with a label that said, warning, attempting to ride a horse with these hobbles in place can cause embarrassment if witnesses are present? And that's the Rangeland News. Well, it feels like, to me, we need another one of those good, easy riding songs. And here's a good one from Alan Christie.
Saddle up my pony, gotta hit the road, and I'll take all my courage and leave the rest alone. Let him have his head, gotta make a mile, and I'll tease all the ladies and leave them with a smile. Did you catch the wind? Did it take you to some places that you've never been? Hey, mi amigo, let the blackbird sing. She's singing way down deep in my soul, and I can tell her anything. Pack is light, I ain't got no load, just some songs that I've been picking down that rodeo road. There's some you win, there's some you lose, but I'll keep on singing about them banjos, broncs, and buckaroos. Did you catch the wind? Did it take you to some places that you've never been? Hey, mi amigo, let the blackbird sing. She's singing way down deep in my soul, and I can tell her anything. Did you catch the wind? Did it take you to some places that you've never been? Oh, mi amigo, let the blackbird sing. She's singing way down deep in my soul, and I can tell her anything. Way down deep in my soul, and I can tell her anything.
The Urban Saddles and Western Wear horse training file is coming right up, and it'll focus on a nasty habit that a lot of horses, particularly those kept in smaller pens and paddocks, can develop, and what to do about it when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. You know, if you look around a lot of places where horses are kept in smaller paddocks or pens, and the fences are made of wood rails or planks, the chances are you'll see the evidence of horses chewing on the wood, and that's related to another problem that's pretty hard to cure. I'll try and sort this all out on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear horse training file coming right up. Here's what's happening on the 2026 Spirit of the West Cruise. Now, this will be on a cruise line we have never been on before, to a destination we have never been to before, with a list of places rich in history and culture. This is a bucket list voyage that'll see a 14-day cruise aboard Oceana Cruises' beautiful ship, Vista. All the cabins have balconies, drinks, gratuity, Wi-Fi all included, specialty dining restaurants, all at no extra surcharge. 20 days away from shores, February 16th to March the 7th, 2026, and an optional 4-day pre-cruise extension at Machu Picchu in Peru. The Vista sets sail on February 21st from Lima, Peru. And here's the real important part. The supply of available cabins on this one is really filling fast, but we still have some available and might be able to get you aboard. For all the information on this one and on our fast-approaching Circle the Caribbean cruise aboard the Majestic Princess sailing on February 3rd, 2025, the number again is 1-800-530-0131.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
My friends at Urban Tack and Western Wear asked me to say a few things on their behalf. First, Happy New Year! And second, they look forward to seeing you in 2025. They also think you're going to love their brand new arrivals, Western Wear with a welcome twist. That's what Urban's is all about. Friendly, small town feel, big city selection, over 130,000 square feet of clothing, boots, and accessories, tack to trailers and animal feed. Urban's has it all. Exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfields.
The world's greatest Western store.
I've talked to a lot of folks in the last few weeks who have a real problem with their horses chewing on the boards and rails of their corrals and pens. And these folks are wondering why the horses do it and how they can be trained not to act like beavers. You should see what they've done to our corrals. Actually, a couple of people have called this wood-chewing activity cribbing, and they're wondering if a cribbing collar or some kind would help. Well, actually, the vice known as cribbing is more serious than just chewing on the fence boards. A cribber is addicted to the habit of clamping his teeth onto a board, a rail, or other solid piece of material, arching his neck, and then taking a big gulp of air. And once this act becomes a habit, the horse would rather stand around and gulp air than eat. In the wintertime, it's particularly serious because when their stomach is full of air, they won't eat their required amount of forage, and in nearly all cases, their condition drops off alarmingly, even when they've got adequate feed in front of them. Various types of cribbing collars are available, and that does prevent old Dobbin from being able to arch his neck, even enough to swallow that belly full of air, but even with most of them, the results aren't always 100% satisfactory. Almost all horses, though, when they're confined to fairly small quarters, will resort to chewing wood out of boredom, and of course winter is the time that the boredom really sets in if they aren't being worked for a few hours every day. The only sure way I've found to prevent our corral boards from suffering the beaver work of these pen-weary ponies is to turn them out to a bigger area where they got room to run and exercise on their own. There have been lots of solutions suggested and tried over the years, including painting the rails and boards with creosote or various other solutions, driving nails through the boards, wrapping wire mesh around them, but one sure way to prevent this is to replace your wood corrals with steel pipe. Depending on where you are, that can be expensive, but then so is replacing boards and rails. Hope we've helped a little bit. That's this week's Horse Training File.
You know, it's very important to us to look after our horses the very best way we can. And even dear old Lucky, who is about 42 years of age, is still doing well, and we attribute a lot of that to the daily feeding of Hoffman's Horse Ration. Find out all about it at hoffmanshorseproducts.com. From a radiator cap to an engine block, bctractorparts.com is your source for whatever you need to keep that essential implement in top shape. Specializing in quality new replacement parts for agricultural tractors, Massey Ferguson, Ford, John Deere, David Brown, Case, International Harvester, Universal Deutz Leyland, Landini, Oliver Fiat, Alice, Zetor, White, and a lot more. If you don't have internet, just call Mark at 250-395-0960. One click or one call, and the parts will be on their way. bctractorparts.com. We don't play traditional Celtic music, and we don't play traditional cowboy music. We play the kind of music that you'd have heard if you'd pushed back the swinging doors at an Irish pub in Tombstone or Dodge City. The words of David Wilkie, founder of Cowboy Celtic. And it's a while since they put out a new album, but here's a nice song from their last one featuring Denise Withnaw.
Underneath the moonlit prairie sky, a cowgirl sings a lonely lullaby. Like a coyote queen, she has got to sing when she cries. But wide and open spaces are too wide. Tonight, 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 riding dragon, rounding up the strays. Pound the saddle all the livelong day. Keeping high behind keeps it off her mind. It's crazy. Morning light so very far away. Tonight, 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 she wonders if the moon shines in the city, far beyond the range she rides tonight, and someone else is singing to her baby, a cowgirl's lullaby. Ooh, ooh, summer's sun or winter's wind and snow, it's all the same when work is all you know. $1 for a dime
Still to come, another great song of the West and Andy Nelson in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight. And knowing Andy, it could be a true account of a couple of cowboys turned loose on the golf course when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Just ahead of the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight, Michael Martin Murphey recorded a duet with Chris Ledoux. Before we lost Chris Ledoux, a pretty spectacular version of Curly Fletcher's Strawberry Roan.
I was laying around town, just spending my time, out of a job and not earning a dime, when a fella steps up and he says, I suppose that you're a bronc rider by the looks of your clothes.
Well, you figures me right, I'm a good one, I claim. Do you happen to have any bad ones to tame? He says, I got one, he's a bad one to buck. You're throwing good cowboys, he's had lots of luck.
He offers me 10 and he says, I'm your man. The bronc never lived that I cannot fan. The bronc never tried, boy, and never drew breath, that I cannot ride daily stars plumb to death.
Well, he says, get your saddle and I'll give you a chance. So we hop in the buckboard and drive to the range. And early next morning and right after Chuck, we step out to see if this outlaw can buck.
Well, down in the horse corral, standing alone, was an old caballo, Strawberry Roan. Had a little pin ears that touched at the tip. He had a big 44 brand upon his left hip.
He had spattering old legs and he had pigeon toes, little pig eyes and a big Roman nose. Ewe-necked and old with a long lower jaw. Well, I can tell with one eye he's a regular outlaw.
I got the blind on him with a terrible flat. I cinched on the saddle and I girded it tight. And then I stepped on him and I pulled down the blind. Look out, boys, he's gonna unwind. He bowed his old neck and I'll say he unwound. He seemed to quit living down there on the ground. Went up to the east and came down to the west, with me in the saddle just doing my best.
Well, he's sure a frog walker and he heaves a big sigh. He only likes the wings for to be on the fly. He turns his old belly right up to the sun. He sure is a son-fishing son of a gun.
He's about the worst bronco I've seen on the range. He could turn on a nickel and give you some change. Came down on all fours, turned on his side. I don't see how I kept from losing my hide.
Well, I lost my stirrup and I lost my hat. I was pulling at a leather just blind as a bat.
With one phenomenal jump, he made a high dive and set me winding up there in the sky. I turned 40 flips and I come down to earth. Sat there cussing the day of his birth.
Well, I know that there's ponies that I cannot ride. Some of them living, they haven't all died.
But I bet you $10 there ain't no man alive who can stay on old Strawberry when he makes his high dive. Yeah!
Okay, now we'll turn Andy Nelson loose in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight.
Author Lee Pitts once explained the reasons cowboys don't play golf. Seeing a cowboy's pale legs and shorts, to me, is plenty reason enough. But I tried the sport on anyway, via promptings of a friend of mine, and found that I really enjoyed it. 'Twas a great way to pass the time. Well, we proceeded to practice a few times on our little local 9-hole course, then felt we were ready for bigger things and our egos we needed to reinforce. We wanted to play the private links, so we stole a pass from a guy down at the pub. What started out to be a refined afternoon became Hee Haw Visits the Country Club. Shirts with collars are required, they said, as are full-length, non-denim pants. Nothing was said about our cowboy boots. I guess they didn't want to take that chance. But before we knew it, our clubs were stolen by some gawky, funny-looking guy. Then we found out he was our caddy, but not until after I'd blacked his eye. Well, after the assault on the club boy, the others were jumpy from the start, so they said we should load our clubs and pilot our very own golf cart. Our clubs were easily distinguished from those of the other golf lovers. Ours were the ones stuffed in grain bags, with drivers donning tube sock covers. Well, we were all over that course, left to right, right to left and back, impressing the players behind us with our 10th hole picnic snack. We played the one bounce rule that not many of them blue bloods knew. See, if you catch a ball on one bounce, then that golf ball belongs to you. Man, they were green with jealousy and envied the skill with which we played, between the belching echoes we elicited and the manly scratching that we displayed. And of our abilities to wade for golf balls, most onlookers were particularly fond, but they were agog at our use of a 9-iron in pitching Japanese goldfish out of the pond. We completed our 18 holes and we were escorted out to our truck. Guess they were afraid we'd go back and pull out the golf cart that we'd stuck. But in the end, we had a great time, and we returned with two tales to tell. First, golf carts are only two-wheel drive, and second, they don't float so well.
Thanks again for making the ride, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time. And as always, thanks to Mark and Kathy McMillan, our great support crew. Now be sure to check the latest issue of Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine for all kinds of great reading and pictures, and you can subscribe online at canadiancowboy.ca. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for this show and many more from the past, with video and lots of videos of the Western Spirit Band and ranching scenes and much more. The links are on our website, hugh-mclennan.com. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.